Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on another episode of the Various Stages of Growth podcast, your one-stop shop for everything nerd-related, movies, TVs, toys, comics, gaming. We're going to talk about all of it. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Matt. I'm joined by Will. Will, how you doing, bud?
I'm well. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Did,
you
did
100%.
did we listen? We really we should really call this episode 21 and a half, because we have a lost
Yes.
episode, my friend. We have a lost episode that took place yesterday.
We do. We have about what, maybe 10, 12 minutes of just awful quality show.
Yes, an awful quality. But we had a gold monologue that I'm not going to repeat, but it had to do with chafing and jacking up your pants legs on an exercise bike. I'm not even going to tell you the context. I'm just going to say, one day it'll be out there on the interwebs. We'll release that out there. But that will be the lost episode. But yeah, man, it's good to finally get on here because there's so much news breaking. There's so much stuff happening that the agenda kept getting bigger. And I was just like, if we don't get this going soon, we're going to have to do a double show. And nobody wants that, especially us.
No, nobody wants to sit here and listen to us for 2.5, upwards of 3 hours. I mean,
No.
if you guys can survive an hour, God bless you and thank you.
God bless you. Seriously, God bless you. I mean that in all sincerity. And thank you. We got some feedback. We had our first YouTube show last week, so we finally got that up and running. We got some feedback on the channel, which is very nice and very, very appreciative. So definitely we appreciate the feedback, the comments, keep them coming. And we got a lot to talk about today. I'd say this show has almost double the content of what we talked about last week.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because it's so well rounded. There's a ton of movie news. There's a ton of toy stuff. There's a good amount of video games in there. We have a book we're going to talk about. So we're kind of all over the place.
Like a whole book, yeah. So
like a whole book. We actually can read here.
Yeah, like a real book. And I've been doing some reading. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And yeah, man, let's just dive into it because we got a lot to cover and we got a lot to say, I think, too.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a fun episode. Before we jump into it, as always, please follow us on Twitter at VSG Podcast. Reach out to us if you don't have a Twitter and you want to send us an email at vsgrowthpodcast@gmail.com. As always, like, comment, subscribe, join all the channels, Anchor, Apple, Spotify, now on YouTube. So go follow us on all those things, please.
Yeah,
it really helps.
Please follow us. It helps. We appreciate it. We really do. You guys are great out there. And I'll just warn you, there is another podcast with a very similar title, but VSG happens to be a gastrointestinal operation. So there's a whole support group podcast. That's not us. We're the one with the little guy on the cover. We're talking toys and movies and ridiculous stuff that comes in our life. But there is another podcast out there, and there's some YouTube videos, but they're totally not related to us. And don't at them either, because I don't think they'd appreciate that.
Yeah, don't at them talking about what's your favorite Transformer, and don't at us asking medical advice, please.
No. I mean, you can, but you're going to get awful advice because we're not going to answer, nor will we be held liable. We'll put the disclaimer up in the beginning.
Yeah, we're not the people you want medical advice from. We're here to talk toys and everything nerd related.
Yes, and that's we don't even know what we're talking about with that. So can you imagine if you got medical advice from the likes of us? You don't want it.
Well, look, speaking of not knowing what we're talking about, let's jump into the show and see how this goes.
Yes.
Let's start movies and TV, where we always start. The one we've been doing first every single week for the past 2 weeks, She-Hulk episode 3. What did you think about it?
My friend, I'm going to defer because I can do that on the show. I can defer. And I'm going to throw it to you because let me preface it with this. There was a lot of discussion about She-Hulk episode 3. There was discussion about the actual episode. There was discussion about that fabled end credit little stinger at the end. Let's start with the episode, but I'm going to defer to you, my friend. What did you think? Inquiring minds want to know. So what did you think of the episode?
Let's keep it in the episode, like you said. We'll talk upon the extra credit scene in a few minutes. Let us get through the episode first. I thought the episode was okay. I think this is the first one where like a lot of the humor for me didn't really work. Look, it's great seeing Wong. I always appreciate when he shows up. He was kind of the bright spot of the episode. There was some good stuff with Tim Roth, but overall, it's one of those episodes I found it actually took me 2 separate sittings to watch the entire episode.
Really?
Which for a 24-minute episode shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
backed out at about 15 minutes, and then I went back and watched the last 10 and the extra credit scene. So that
Wow.
really tells you all you need to know about the episode.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I maybe liked it a little more than you the actual episode. I thought the stuff with Emil Blonsky with Tim Roth playing that, I thought that was pretty funny because he plays it so understated. And I think the understated comedy in Marvel
Mhm.
is kind of where it's at. You know, we talked about this when we talked about Thor, which we have another story about today as well. But it's that understated little comedy that seems to work in the MCU. When you start to get too broad, it does. I don't know. It hits differently.
Yeah.
I did finish the episode in one sitting. Unfortunately, I was spoiled, and I did appreciate the Wong appearance as well. But I was spoiled about the end credit scene prior to the episode. Now, I don't think it tainted my enjoyment of the episode, but the Twitterverse exploded with what was going on, and everybody had thoughts. I don't know if you're aware of that, Matt. They all had thoughts out there,
Oh, we know. Trust me.
feelings and thoughts, which are good to express. Don't bottle that stuff up. Let that out, and you did Twitter, so great job. Um, and I listen, man. I think I want to dive into that because I think it opens up a bigger issue. So I'm going to once again defer to you, man. Open the floodgates. Your thoughts and then your commentary on this, and I can share what I think.
Okay, look, I'm gonna try to keep this as nice as possible.
There you
The
go.
extra credit scene was not what I wanted. It's not
Okay.
anything I ever needed to see. It's like you said, Marvel has done a good job overall in all their movies and TV shows of what kind of comedy and where they put it, and timing. This just felt forced and unnecessary and didn't work at all for me. I'm gonna defer to you. How did you feel about it?
I mean, it's funny. I'm not going to say here and lie and say I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. I laughed my head off, but I didn't have as big as a problem as a lot of people just because I guess I just didn't care one way or the other. I don't
Mhm.
have a strong opinion um, about the sanctity of the MCU that I think some people have where they get upset with some things like that. To me, um, did I need it? No. Did it make or break the show for me? No. Um, I think I was more intrigued by the aftermath of what happened and exploded online afterwards. I will tell you what was more off-putting to me was the cameo of Megan Thee Stallion in the actual show rather than the
Yeah.
credit. I mean, to me that just seemed now it works as far as the tone of the show, just kind of being that goofy, irreverent sitcom. But
Mhm.
you may not want that goofy, irreverent sitcom. So to me, in the tone of the show, does it work? Yeah, I mean, they even kind of do a kind of in reference joke. Um, when she breaks the fourth wall and talks about all the cameos on the show and what they're doing. So I
Yeah.
understand that part of it. But yeah, man, it's really interesting. We've talked about this before in the show. What a lot of fans feel about Phase Four of the MCU and kind of what they're doing and kind of bringing things
Yeah.
up. Um, so yeah, I didn't bump into it and get as upset as others. I just didn't care. I watched it. Let's be honest, I'm not the target audience. I'm going to be honest. And I kind of just went, oh, okay, and moved on. Now, do I think that when you put that stuff in there, you're trying to cater to a broader audience? Absolutely. But like I said, I don't get caught up in all that stuff. I think I'm still burned out by the trashing that went on with in the DC universe with the Snyderverse and how cutthroat that got on both sides.
Yeah. It
With
blew
them
up
with
way too aggressively.
yeah, with Batman and Superman just getting trashed like it did, and then on the flip side with the Snyder bots and everyone coming back the other way. So to see that and then to see what happens sometimes in the Star Wars universe, I kind of shy away from the negativity unless it's something that's so egregious that I just can't take it. So, but I will say this. I will say this, and I don't know how you feel about this. I, I feel like, and we talked about this on my Marvel rewatch when I went through the other movies. I feel like once again that there was a broader plan and everything going on. Maybe it's the way this is structured. Maybe it's the fact that it's a sitcom setting. But I still feel like once again we're just treading water with the bigger timeline. And I don't know if Marvel's a victim. I want to get your take on this. If Marvel's a victim of its own success, in that now the expectation is that everything has to somehow link while tell its own unique story and unique characters.
Yeah.
But it's just like it used to be event TV. Even when those first couple Marvel shows like Scarlet Witch and Falcon Winter Soldier and Logan, that felt like an event TV. Like you didn't want to miss it. Like you didn't want to fall behind. And now it just feels like, I guess you can watch it.
Yeah,
You don't
absolutely.
have to. And I don't know if that's a problem or if it's a better thing because it brings in a broader audience. I don't know. Disney Plus doesn't release the ratings, but that's really the thought that goes through my head. And so when you see like this, a lot of people are calling it a stunt or unnecessary, and I'm not taking away from that. I can see that, and I just feel like if this is what we're going to resort to just to bring attention to it, rather than be must-see viewing because it's going to expand upon the larger
Hmm.
universe. Yeah, then I do think that is a problem. I don't know what you feel on that. I want to get your take. Do you think it's a problem?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of like the oversaturation too of it, where, like you said, these shows and these movies used to be event TV. You had to go see it, you had to watch it, and now it was just, we got Moon Knight, we ran through that, and then we got Ms. Marvel, we ran through that. Now we're into She-Hulk. We're gonna run through this. Then in 2 months we're gonna get Black Panther, and then we're gonna get another TV show the month after. It's just a lot, and it doesn't have the specialness anymore. It doesn't have that feel, that excitement around it. I
Yeah,
think it's more kind of like, oh, cool, more Marvel. I'll check it out eventually.
yeah, and it's funny because you say all the content out there, and then on the flip side, you got a property, and Disney's got a property and an IP like Star Wars,
Yeah,
where it's been now what 2 going on 3 years without a movie,
yeah.
and so then
With
that these
not even
shows.
confirmation of a movie.
Right, right. And so now these shows take on an extra special, kind of meaning or weight to it. And so, like, I can't wait for Andor. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
excited to go. It's not true. I'm very intrigued to see how Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever turns out. I am because of everything surrounding it and because of the first one, all that. So, that to me feels like a big event. That's going to be huge. But as far as some of this other stuff, I was excited about Thor, and we all know how that worked out. Um, but with Andor, I can't wait. Like to me, that's what I'm most excited about wrapping up towards the end of this year. So yeah, man, I get it. I wonder if the MCU has a bigger problem heading down the line, and I just want to get your take on that. Is it oversaturated? Are we to the point now where they maybe do need to slow down, or maybe do need to rethink their strategy? Because we got all excited. We saw that big release calendar and how everything's linked and all that stuff,
yeah, of
right?
course.
But now it's like, oh, another one. It's almost becoming cumbersome to keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you said, going back to the first couple phases, there was that definitive plan, right? We knew where everything was going, everything was leaning towards Thanos, and we kind of have a little bit better context of that now that we saw the San Diego Comic-Con panel, but we still
Mhm,
don't have the threads kind of interweaving through everything. Like, yeah, Wong shows up at She-Hulk, but he doesn't really mention anything that's happened in Doctor Strange or anything else, so it,
mhm.
it doesn't seem like the plan to build isn't as clear cut as it was during the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, it seems like the only reference that Wong made had to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And about the multiverse and doing spells and making people forget. So I mean, he referenced Spider-Man and did not reference Doctor Strange. So I agree with you there. I don't know, man. It sounds trite and it sounds kind of we all know it's first world problems, but we're complaining about the MCU, we're complaining about too much content. It's like, when are you ever going to be satisfied? But I just think it's the the quality or the expectation of everything connected. Like you brought up Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight. I have my problems with finale, but I love
Mhm.
Moon Knight overall. Moon Knight really had no connection to
No,
anything
it
else
was a
in the
completely
MCU.
singular show.
And so that was like one of the downsides. Like, well, it didn't connect to anything. All they had to do was drop a cameo. But so we went into that, and yet that show was tremendous. You definitely saw with Falcon Winter Soldier move some stuff along. You got your new Captain America. Spoilers, sorry, it's been out
Mhm.
for a year. Loki obviously kind of start teasing that piece with both the multiverse and Kang. Um, and WandaVision obviously setting stuff up. I just feel like even the first couple shows really moved things forward. Miss Marvel told its own contained story up until like that
Yeah.
last scene. you didn't really know if it connected any which way. So, um, yeah, I don't know, but if the excitement is just tempered because we're getting too much content, or because we're looking for things that are not there. We should just sit back and enjoy it. Maybe years later we'll go back and look upon it. But yeah, I was disappointed as well. Not, I don't think on the level as you had, but it's probably worse the feeling I had. Like you said, you had a problem with the end scene. I didn't care. Me not caring is probably worse than actually caring still. I might
Yeah,
be
because
further
you're just
gone than where
completely
you're
jaded
from.
to it.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. Like, it's just, and so I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but yeah, I was curious, man, how you took that, because I part of me wished there was a hidden camera on you while that scene came on.
I was
What
just
was
kind
your
of
reaction? Like walk us through
because
your
I was
reaction.
sitting here, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
the episode was whatever. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Let me get to the extra credit scene. Maybe that redeems the whole episode. Maybe it's something cool with Wong. Maybe we get a Daredevil tease, something cool. And then
Yeah.
I got that, and I was just sitting here like, oh, this is it. This is
Yeah.
the show I'm watching.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, Twitter ruined it for me because I opened up, my timeline, and the first thing I have is a picture of them twerking.
Yeah,
Spoilers, which are, and I was like, what? And then I thought, for the second, I thought it was totally Photoshop, you know, and it was even like, if like, She-Hulk was twerking at the end after, handling the case by herself, I'd probably be okay with it. Yeah, I don't care. And I don't know if that apathy is good or not, man, but let's move on. We want to stay
yeah.
positive here in the show. We didn't even get to the DC news yet.
We're gonna save the DC news for last. And
Okay, good,
ladies and
good.
gentlemen, as you can see, we're both wearing DC shirts. We are fans, so
Yes,
we do
yes,
not hate them like people think.
yes. In fact, that's why, it's funny. I care more now getting fired up about the stuff than like, and the Marvel stuff. Like, yeah, yeah, can't wait for Black Panther, and I'm looking forward, to whatever. I'll watch Guardian, but I'm not like circling those dates anymore. That DC stuff, I'm like, man, is anything gonna come out?
Yeah,
So
exactly. We'll get there.
we'll get
Let's
there.
keep it in house with Disney and Marvel. There was a little bit more controversy this week with the reveal of the Obi-Wan making of documentary, because apparently people on Twitter thought that it was the sequel to the show. It was the second
Yes.
season,
Yeah. Well,
and
the subtitle apparently tweaked people.
yeah, well, it was like a Jedi's Return or
Hmm.
something, or
Yeah.
it, people, if you could just read the headline or the full article, you would have known that this wasn't what it was, and it is just the making of documentary, and nobody needed to flip out for any reason. So,
But they did. The dreaded bait and switch was dropped online, and it was like the second sentence after the subtitle, the Return of the Jedi, or the making, or
mhm.
what was it, or the whatever. Um, the second thing said the making of documentary. But if you didn't
Yeah,
get past that first thing and you jumped in the subtitle, it's season 2 announcement, and it wasn't. And then people got upset, and I get upset too, because listen, Matt, literacy is nothing to laugh about. But I digress. When these Star Wars fans read and don't go on to that second sentence and then start screaming at the House of Mouse about the bait and switch and how dare you tease us. First of all, if they announce season 2, we all know it's coming at D23. So calm
yeah.
down.
Why would they drop it in a random little trailer or an
Yes.
article? Like it makes no
Right.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to oversell Disney Plus Day, all right?
No.
Maybe they'll bang the drum for Hocus Pocus too, but they're not going to be going crazy
And here's the
for
thing:
this.
anybody who's watched any of these shows, they've released the making of documentary for every single show they've released, whether
Right.
it's Marvel or Star Wars. So it's coming eventually.
Right. Well, and I think that was part of the gripe. Like, why don't you just call it gallery like the other ones? Like, come on.
It's like, who
This
cares?
was
Let them name it whatever the
what's
heck they want.
right. Right. Maybe because you're not watching gallery and they want you to watch this, and they got you one way or another. You can either watch it and enjoy it, or you're gonna hate watch it at this point. So who knows?
Yeah, that was just a quick little thing that we wanted to throw in there. People, just read.
Read. Just read.
It'll save you a lot of aggravation.
Yeah, just read. Just read before you post. They're so quick to post and get their comment out there. Finish reading before you put out the. But once again, we're gonna stay positive. So let's move on.
Let's shoot back over to Marvel. We got a little bit of news this week that Ben Kingsley is coming back as Trevor Slattery in Wonder Man. I don't know what this means for the show. I don't know how he fits in. I like Ben Kingsley, so sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, his character was enjoyable. Obviously, Iron Man 3 and in Shang-Chi was a pleasant surprise. So, more of Trevor Slattery is not a bad thing as far as, like you said, what it means for the bigger picture. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe this upcoming week we get something at D23 about Wonder Man.
Yeah, I couldn't pick Wonder Man out of a lineup. So,
We're getting to those deep cut characters with Marvel where, even people like you and me are like, I don't really know too much about this guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's not a household name like Muerto. So, you know,
Yeah, exactly. Disney has tough sledding ahead for them for promoting Wonder Man.
mhm. Disney does well. Yeah, yeah. So Wonder Man.
Yeah, that was it. One more Marvel
Oh,
story.
yes, and I gotta get your opinion on this story. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I this one
So,
I'm a
so there's a Thor: Love and Thunder deleted scene
yes,
that got released, and it's of Zeus's oldest son, right? I think his name's Dionysus, right?
Dionysus. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
something like that. Man, this just reinforced why I don't like that movie. That's the easiest way for me to say it.
If you're on the fence of seeing this movie, what I would tell you is don't see the movie. Go on
Yeah,
YouTube, watch this deleted scene, and you'll
and then
get
see
it
if you
all
like it.
out. Right. And if you want more of that, watch the movie. Um, Man, it was terrible. It was it. uh, If
Yeah,
you haven't seen this yet, folks, go out and watch it. It's what, like a 2 minute long, not even probably, deleted scene from Thor: Love and Thunder, and has nothing to do with the movie. It's a part when they're going to visit Zeus. If you haven't seen the movie, but that's what the part is. But I mean,
mhm.
once again, we kind of got on the portrayal of Zeus by Russell Crowe earlier in an earlier podcast. Um, Russell Crowe looks like Laurence Olivier compared to the performance of that you get with this. Just cringeworthy, man. Like
Yeah,
pure cringe.
that's the best way to
Like
say it.
someone posted, and I wish I could attribute to them, but someone posted online after underneath the video was like, "This feels like something out of like if someone was making like a Thor: Love and Thunder um, like a scary movie version, like low
Yeah,
budget,
like a parody.
like a total parody. Like like they could have cut that scene and have Matt Damon as low. They could have brought those actors into play. It was so bad.
It was
Um,
terrible, and look, we've had all these rumors now that Taika Waititi's not coming back to do the next Thor movie, which I think is probably a good decision coming off of this
yeah,
movie.
but is it a
I'm
good
curious.
decision to give him Star Wars?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna go on a little tangent here. Do you think this affects his Star Wars movie at all? It has to, right?
It has to because there's still a chance I think, but look what happened to Ryan Johnson when he took all that
Yeah,
flack for The Last Jedi. When it first came out, the critics screened it, they loved it, they gave him his trilogy, and then else that had the blowback. Oh, we got to do a reset. They pulled that. You've got to think that. Look, you can say what you want about The Last Jedi, and I certainly have my problems with The Last Jedi, but The Last Jedi is a superior movie compared to Thor: Love and Thunder.
oh,
Com- uh,
infinitely. It's not even close.
like it's not even close. So, and I know that's not saying much. I know, like Twitterverse probably just exploded, but it's. I have my problems, so I'm not going to go into them here. That's a whole other podcast. We'll make that
That's
bonus
a very
content.
long episode.
It's a very long episode, which will end with me with a couple boxes of Kleenex. But man, I get your take. Like that scares me more than anything. That deleted scene reinforced once again and the sad thing is I love what we do in the shadows. I love some of the
Mhm.
things he does. It's one of those things where it really scares me. Or as you said, questions: is he going to lose that Star Wars movie?
Well, and here's the thing, right? You're like you said, you're coming off The Last Jedi, very mixed reviews, not well received. Rise of Skywalker, the same thing. Movies have been dormant for Star Wars for so long at this point. You need to come out with a slam dunk movie.
Yes, yes,
You
yeah.
can't afford to take a chance. You can't afford to, give Taika a random kind of, comedy Star Wars movie. You have to nail this one. So
Well, and
I don't think you can
yeah,
take a chance with Taika.
I don't think so because and I know it's a little different, but look what happened to Solo, man. Like
Yeah,
you pulled Lord and Miller off that movie because you thought it was going too comedic. Lord and Miller were too comedic compared to what you got
yeah.
with Taika. I mean, And to me, Lord and Miller had a big hand in making freaking Into the Spider Verse, which is tremendous.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm
amazing.
saying? Like, and the Lego movie. So yeah, I know they made 21 Jump Street and stuff like that, but it's like unless the movie went that far, there's no way that Star Wars movie could have been as far out as what I'm worried this one could be. And I just like I said, it was pure parody. It wasn't a comedy. Like, you know, Ragnarok was tremendous, but how you go from that to Love and Thunder is just it's mind boggling.
Yeah,
So I
it's
don't know, but that scene, man, whew,
yeah.
check
I
that
saw it
scene
pop
out.
up, and I was like I said, it reinforced everything I didn't like about the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's jump into a very random topic here. And if you've been following us for a while, first off, thank you. You've heard us talk about this a few times at this point. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey released their official trailer. It's finally here. We finally got our first look at this movie. I'm going to let you take this one. What did you think?
I don't want to touch this one on so many levels, man. What did you? I mean, okay, it was kind of cool. It almost to me feels like it would be cool if it was one of those fake trailers, like they did before
Yeah.
Grindhouse or Tropic
Yep.
Thunder. To me, it's a good chuckle. Watching that trailer, it just disturbed on so many levels. Disturbed from the bad acting, the you know what looks to be you know the what happened. We talked about what happened to poor Eeyore. I mean,
Yeah.
nightmares, man, nightmare fuel watching that thing, and not in a good way. Like not just like in a disturbed like. I'd rather watch the Human Centipede over again than watch that. I don't know, but what was
Oh,
your
I don't
take
know
on it?
about that one. I don't know. That's a very strong take.
Well, you know, seeing, you know, the hardcore piglet, I don't know. It just, uh, yeah, man. Nightmare fuel. That's all I got. That's all I got. Worse than Murph, the Nerf mascot. It's like I got the same vibes, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? You
You,
excited for this one? Is this a day
can I
one VOD?
can I say yes and no? I think that's the best way to sum it up. Look, I didn't expect this to be a good movie, and the trailer definitely confirmed that it is a B, maybe C list movie. Talent and effects wise.
Right,
But I'm just intrigued by the plot. I just want to see what this is.
but did you get? All right, I'm not gonna come at you with this. Did you get any vibes? So to me, for something like this to work, there's got to be some dark humor into it. I think else it gets
Yes.
really. And I didn't get that from the trailer. I didn't get that from the trailer. Like
No.
Pooh and Piglet didn't have any one-liners, which would have been tremendous. Like I would have been all in. You
Like
know.
here's the thing. Like I want the moment where Winnie the Pooh hacks somebody up with an axe, blood shoots on his face, and he goes, "Oh bother," and then
Yes.
wipes it off with a rag or something.
Yes. Or it comes in
That's what I
just
think is missing.
yeah, walks in with an axe and is like, "Who ate my honey?" And then just goes to like something like that. Like to me, I'd be like, yeah, you know, because some of those crazy out there, you know, movies, um, you know, they have a little bit of that in them. That oh God, what was the one? Did you see the one with Nick Cage and
Which
the
one?
animatronics?
Oh, Willy's Wonderland.
Yes, tremendous.
Absolutely.
But there was dark humor in
Absolutely.
that. But there was dark humor in that.
Yeah.
Plus Nick Cage. But to
In a
me, like
silent role. He doesn't speak in that
yes,
movie.
doesn't speak at all, but it's tremendous. And it's just to me, this had potential, and I think they just went for like straight horror, and it's just it's giving me different vibes. I wanted a dark uh, horror movie, and I didn't get that from the trailer. Now maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're curious, and it's going to be awful, but in a good way. Um, but I didn't get those vibes because I didn't get any. It feels like a missed opportunity. Like you got this. You went all out. I didn't go all out. You can
Yeah.
see this, whatever. But you went all out. I mean, you had a chance to make something a little bit different, but I didn't see the. I didn't see the humor in it. So, not that I want it laugh out loud funny, but to me, you had some chances. Like you know, you could have done it. But who knows? Maybe it's off the wall wacky. I got a feeling it's going to be one where we're just 30 minutes in falling asleep or
Turn
whatever.
this off.
We'll see.
You
Yeah,
know what
we'll
scares me
see.
the
I
you know what
was
scares me the
excited.
most You know what scares me the most about this movie? There's so much hype behind it. I think this movie's actually gonna make money. because it's
Yeah,
being covered by all these media outlets. Everyone's talking about it. And then where does this lead these type of movies to go? And we might talk about that a little bit later, but
yeah, because there is some opportunity in some of these public domain properties, but I don't know, man. We'll see. But I listen. I think it's releasing at the right time, so I think you're spot on where it's going to make some money. But
yeah.
man, like it was like just total like I don't know. I didn't see the dark humor, and there could have been just hilarious stuff like just a little piglet paw with that. I mean, it didn't take a lot. I just don't. I didn't see it played up. Just a little shadow walk. I mean, I don't know. I'm not asking it to go all out and be as goofy as like Bride of Chucky or Seed of Chucky for that matter. But give me
Yeah.
something. Give me something.
Let's switch over to a good DC story. They announced Harley Quinn season 4, the animated
Hmm.
show. After all the cuts, somehow this one survived, and I'm happy. Season 3 has been enjoyable. I like season 1 and 2, so another season of a good DC television show. I'll take it.
All right. Yeah, I got to check that out. I'm behind and I'm waiting, but it's going to be one of those. I think this can be too hard to binge because I'm going to wait too long. But I gotta. They're only like 20 minutes an episode, right?
Yeah, it's only 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll dig in. I'll make
All
sure the
right.
kids aren't around watching that one.
Next up, another pretty big powerhouse release of a TV show, the Amazon Prime Rings of Power. Did you get to check this out?
Did not, but I see a lot of people are upset online, so I had to get your take on it.
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan.
Okay.
Franchise-wise, it never really, hit for me. I was just like, "Okay, it's fine." Never saw all the Hobbits. I think I saw the first one, so I don't even know if I'll get around to this.
Yeah, it was curious to me, and like I said, I saw the trailers, and it didn't really make me excited, but it didn't make me not want to watch it. But a lot of the
Mhm.
feedback I saw online was that it was just people were bashing it before they even dropped a couple episodes. Um, and I'm assuming based off the trailer. Now I saw one trailer was absolutely ridiculous. But they were all, but we'll get into that next week because I've got to find the video. So I'll send it to you. But
Yeah.
I was just curious. I mean, once again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago with some of the stuff. Are they real people? Are they bots? Is it basing everything off a trailer? I know the reviews and the receptions kind of been lukewarm and mixed at best.
Mhm.
But that's one of those where they were saying, I guess, goodness, they spent on that. I don't know how many episodes, but they ridiculous amount of money,
Oh, yeah, the
like
money Amazon put into it is insane.
yeah, and, per episode was like ridiculous. So I'm thinking that's a bad news. That's bad news if they put all that money into it and it's still coming off looking quote unquote cheap, or like you're
Mhm.
putting box office type money into a show. You can't have this property miss. Even if you're Amazon, you can't have this property miss. So we'll see. I just was shocked, and I did not see it yet. But I was just shocked on how much hate it was getting prior to an episode being dropped, just off the trailers and what people were reading, and I don't know, and so I'm curious to check it out, not just because I'm a fan, but also because of the backlash it was receiving. So maybe we'll get into it next week. I'm definitely gonna try to check at least the
Yeah,
first couple episodes out.
and that seems to kinda be happening a lot. I mean, it happened with She-Hulk, right? The She-Hulk drops the official trailer, everybody starts ripping it apart because of the way it looks. Look,
Hmm.
until these shows actually release, they're fixing the VFX constantly. So
Yeah,
it's gonna look better once it's officially released, so you kinda just have to take the trailer at face value, sit back, wait, and watch the show.
yeah, and that's like I was saying. I know it's one of those shows where you don't want them to get wrong. There's been so much hype surrounding it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting. I will say this, and I know from what I've seen, the money that they say they've spent on the shows, then the effects have to be crazy because they didn't spend a lot of money on the casting.
Yeah.
Like I didn't recognize really a face, and you think you would do. I'm not saying do stunt casting, but bring in one or two. I mean, I remember when Lord of the Rings came out, they had a couple actors well known in smaller roles, but they did cast a lot of people like that were not mainstream stars in those roles. So
Yeah.
I understand that, but to me, you still had a couple, big time classic actors in some of the minor supporting roles. So we'll see. So it doesn't look like they laid out the budget for the cast, but we'll see.
Yeah. Another big time TV show that's out right now, HBO Max, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. You get a chance to
Yeah,
check this
breaking
out?
records. Yeah, I saw the first 2 episodes. I'm not caught up in the third one, or fourth one, but I watched the first 2. I think the third one just dropped so last night, so I didn't see that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, man, it started off real weird with this really weird narration that didn't feel like Game of Thrones, and then by the
Mhm.
end of the episode, it totally felt like Game of Thrones. But back when Game of Thrones before that last season, which was super rushed and all that stuff. So, yeah, man, I'm into it. The characters, because they're so, they're all in the same house for the most part. So it's kind of very, it's not as feel as big a scale as Game of Thrones felt. But as
Mhm.
far as the back and forth and some of the acting and the performances and of course the gratuitous violence and everything else that comes with it, that they haven't cut back on that at all. It was really slow. The first episode, man, I mean, it was going real slow, and the next thing you know, it's like, yeah, there's a scene where they raid a village, and there's stuff chopped off left and right. I mean, there's stuff that I don't even want to get into that gets chopped off, and it was just um, but yeah, so I'm into it. The ratings have been off the charts, which was curious because the way that show ended, left a lot of people upset. Then the fact that the first spinoff they did, they even shot the pilot, didn't even get off the ground. So there was a little bit of a risk involved. So it's interesting to see how
Yeah.
well it's actually been received and people watching it. You check it out yet?
Yeah. I'm I'm gonna be honest, and this is where I make a big statement. I
Yeah.
have never watched an episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh my goodness. Well, you got some
Not one.
binging to do. You got some binging to do.
Yes.
Ah,
I
you got
have
some
never
binging.
seen an episode.
Listen, I will say this because I know we talk about this all the time. You got so much to watch. Find time, find an hour, and just watch that first episode.
Okay.
That first episode and the way it ends just hooks you, and then you're probably going to want to watch the second one. And I would say the first couple seasons of that show are just ridiculous on so many levels. But yeah, that first episode when that ends, literally, the people I was watching it with, you had everyone collectively gasped at the same time, and then like froze, and then when the
Uh-huh.
credits came out, we're just silent. So just do yourself a favor, watch that first episode. I know I'm slacking too. I still haven't seen Joker, but check out that first episode.
At least that's a movie and not an entire series of TV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta check it out. It's all right. It's like I said, it'll tell the full story now. Just know that the ending's kind of not where you think it's going to be going.
I'll have to check it out and give my thoughts.
Yeah.
We have one more movie and TV story. Unfortunately, it's another DC story that we're going to talk about, and they have officially canceled DC Fandom. I was kind of surprised by this because we've talked about this before, where we thought they would have the fandom just to kind of get back in the good graces of the fans and kind of lay out that plan of what's going forward. They canceled it. There's nothing, so we're kind of just left waiting in the wind. What do you think about this?
So surprisingly, I'm not going to be upset about this, and here's why.
Oh wow,
I don't think they have a plan. I think
I don't think
so.
they do either.
There was a story last week and a half ago that Dan Lin that they were trying to eye their own Kevin Feige type role. They're not going to find
Yeah,
Kevin
his name was
Feige,
getting
but
thrown out there.
so his name was around. So if they don't have the quote unquote overseer really ready to go yet, there's no way they've got their plan laid out. And we
No.
talked about this too. You've got Black Adam coming. They push back
Mhm.
Shazam. They push back Aquaman. So what else do they have? Nothing. And if you don't have your person in line, I'm almost relieved because I feel like if they put stuff out in fandom, they would scrap it a month and a half later. So if I will say this, I'm going to give DC grace, and it's not just because I'm wearing my Nightwing shirt and I'm being delusional. Maybe they figured it out and they're going to just eat it and take the bad press and take until they get it right. And when they're ready to make an announcement and actually follow through with a plan,
Yeah.
that's when they'll announce something. And if that's the case, then I will sit back. I know that another story. I don't know if we talked about, but last week Matt Reeves they did make a deal with Matt Reeves to do the
Yeah.
Batman 2. So that's going to happen. We know the Joker 2 is going to happen. Um, And like I said, those are kind of on the outskirts on its own area there.
Hmm.
But I don't think they have a plan for what's coming next after that. Like I don't think I still don't to this day don't know what's gonna they think what's gonna happen with Flash. And I think until they get their
Yeah, that.
person in place, I mean, I don't know what you think, but I think they're waiting contingency on what happens with Ezra Miller, who they put in charge, and then it's all going to be based off of that.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. If they did have DC fandom, what are they going to promote? How much more can they show from Black Adam? How much more? They're not going to drop another Shazam trailer when they just released one a couple months ago at San Diego. You're
Mm-hmm.
probably not showing anything from Aquaman. You're definitely not touching Flash. They're not going to get on there and talk about that at all. Right now, there's nothing else. Joker
No, and
2 and Batman 2 are great, but they're so far off. There's nothing. There's not even a script for those movies yet.
well, and if you think about fandom panel wise, their CW shows are all done. They just have
Yeah.
Superman and Lois, and God, I can't believe Gotham Knights is coming out. But you got the two shows. I know you still got Titans renewed, and I think Doom Patrol is coming back for one more season. So I know you get two
Yeah,
more
one
on
more
HBO
season.
Max. You've got the in development Penguin spinoff show, but they're not anywhere there. You're in development Green Lantern, show, core show. That's not, so really, like, what are you going to be doing? And like you said, they released it at Comic-Con. They did their little thing. I just don't think they have enough. And I'm almost relieved because I don't think they have a plan, or they don't have that. I think that they're going to have to take a step back, and I think they realize that, which is why they push Shazam and Aquaman,
Yeah.
because I think that that's going to kind of start it, and then they'll pick up from there. But I don't think they have all that stuff laid out yet. They don't have their guy in place. So as bummed as I was, what were they going to announce or show that we don't already know, or that they would put out there and that wouldn't even happen anyway? So that's kind of where I came from it. So I took a different
Yeah.
approach on it.
The only thing that they haven't showed us that they could have showed us is maybe something from Blue Beetle, because according to reports, Blue Beetle is still happening, but you're not going to run an entire event
Yeah,
around that.
right. And I still think if they would have done that, number one, we don't know for sure if that's still going to happen. Number two, we're still fresh on the heels of the Batgirl situation. So people will be
Yeah.
like, just show Batgirl and be over. You'd get all that stuff online, which this was a virtual show. So we'll see, man. I just, like I said, I don't think they have their guy in place yet. I don't think they have their firm plan. I think they're talking about stuff. And you know what? Maybe they should just shut up and not say anything. And they did the right thing until they have a firm plan to put it out there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think silence is the best plan at this point. Just let people, go see Black Adam, hopefully enjoy it, get some good graces off that movie, and then, move forward very slowly.
Yeah. And maybe they put these things out and see what people react. And people are just like, oh, I'm done with it. They just scrap everything.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
definitely on the table for them. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a wait and see approach with Warner Brother Discovery and DC in general. With that out the way, it's time to jump into toys.
Toys.
Yes, things that usually make us a little bit more happier than movie and TV.
Yes.
Let's
So
start.
what do we got this week?
So first off, this week, Target has been doing weekly releases every Monday, I believe it is.
Okay.
This week's release was NECA figures. I know you're a big NECA guy. Anything catch your eye here? Anything you bought?
The only thing that they had that Usagi Yojimbo, which I already was fortunate enough to I ordered that months ago from NECA,
Yeah.
so I got that a couple months ago, 2 months ago I think. So no, I mean there was some cool stuff, but it's like I said, I've had to kind of put the kibosh on the NECA turtle stuff. I don't know if there's any more NECA stuff. I do. The one thing I am eyeing is that NECA RoboCop.
Yeah,
That
that's a good
that's
looking figure.
that's good. The Ultimate RoboCop, and then there's the damaged one, and then there's the ED2 on it. So, other than that, the stuff looked pretty cool, but it was nothing that I went for. Anything you went for on that?
No, I'm kind of right there with you. I'm not collecting any of the Turtles lines, really at all. So this was easy pass. Like you said, great looking figures. They all looked
Mhm.
awesome. The Usagi Yojimbo was tempting, but I did pass. I just don't need it
And
right now.
that's a great figure. Like I can't say enough things about they nailed it with that figure. But like I said, having that already, you know, in my collection, got it a couple months ago. Everything else was kind of very cool, but it wasn't on the
Yeah.
level of Usagi.
Yeah, so that was it. I think there's another release maybe this week. I think it's kind of going through like the next month, so I'm sure there'll be more releases at Target, and we'll talk about all of those.
Cool.
Jumping over to something I did buy or pre-order, Funko finally revealed the Sopranos Funko Pops. I think it was 4 base figures and 2 exclusives. So I got all of them except for the one exclusive that hasn't released yet.
All right, so who they make? Let's run
So
down
you
the
had
lineup.
you had Tony, you had his wife. There's a Christopher. There's a Paulie that's a Funko Shop exclusive. There's a Amazon exclusive Tony that came with the duck. If you remember, season one, I believe it was season two
Yes.
with the ducks in the pool. That was a cool figure. So there were some good looking ones.
Very cool. I didn't even
Yeah,
see
and
these. I have to look that up.
yeah, check them out. And I'm sure it's going to be a wave that they keep adding new characters because there is so many characters in that show and so many different versions of the characters that you could do. So I'm excited to see how long they actually, keep follow through with this line.
Yeah, that's what I didn't even know that came out. I gotta go check that out.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check them out. Next up, Reva Hot Toy officially revealed from the Obi-Wan show. If you saw the teaser images from the Inquisitor, you knew she was coming. They kind of had the
Mhm.
figure posed in the background. Look, good looking figure. Anything I need to buy? No. We've talked about the oversaturation of Reva, merchandise with the failed HasLab, the Hot Toy, every single figure released in her. So it seems like maybe this is the last one. We'll see what Disney has plans for, but if you're a fan of the character, the Hot Toy is out there and it looks awesome.
Yeah, looks cool, but like I said, it's one of those figures where, um, you know, a lot of merchandise out there for a figure that's not super established yet.
Yeah, we've talked about it at length. It was a weird choice, but hey, they went all in, and the figures are there. I know there's people who like that character, so at least they can get something for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, to keep it in Star Wars, first looks at the Andor Black Series figures. Look, I'm a big Black Series collector guy. These figures were disappointing.
Mhm.
Three of them basically look the same. I don't know if you had a chance to see these.
Yeah, I kind of looked at it and like that's different figures because they really did look the same. There wasn't a lot of difference to them. So
It's
yeah,
basically the same figures, three of them, and then you have a Shore Trooper, which I believe we already have a Shore Trooper that released already. So
yes, yes. So it's
I don't
it's
know what they're
it's
doing with this wave. I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't need three different Imperial commanders that look the same, even though one is Cassian in
Why not,
disguise.
man?
Like
Why not? Why don't
it
you
just
need
kind of
them?
it just kind of seems to be the thing with Hasbro and the Black Series, right? It seems to be a lot of the same molds, a lot of repaints, with the credits collection and the holiday collection, and I, I don't know. I'm kind of falling
The
out of the Black
Halloween
Series.
collection.
Yeah,
One of
I
those.
mean,
Yeah,
look, if you're not interested in a Halloween Wookiee, I mean, what are you doing?
right. Come on, get on that.
Let's jump over to McFarlane, who we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, and man, like we talk about it a lot. They pump out figures constantly.
It's ridiculous. It's like every 2 weeks there's a new thing coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
So look, this week they revealed an exclusive Superman that was a McFarlane exclusive based off. I
mhm.
think it was Hush,
It was
right? Is
off
that what it?
Hush, yeah. So it's the Hush Superman when he kind of gets kind of taken over by Poison Ivy.
Hmm.
So that's where he comes with all the little vines or the whatever it's supposed to be. Um, Great looking figure. My
Yeah.
biggest problem with it was I wish it came with an alternate head because you got the
Hmm.
angry red-eyed Superman, which is cool with his, but it's probably the best looking Superman body that they've released. But the head, it's you don't have your traditional head, so cool. That's one of the McFarlanes I do collect, a Superman McFarlane. Um, I don't know if I'll try to get it or not, but it is pretty cool. Not as cool as that World of War one they released. Even
Yeah.
though but it's cool. I'm with you, man. They pump things out because right on top of that, they have a speed metal build a figure set coming out.
Yeah, and they've
Yeah,
already revealed two figures from that set. You got Jay
yeah.
Garrick, and then I think yesterday they showed Kid Flash.
Kid Flash. Yep. And so yeah, I'm telling you what, man. And then there was a Flash figure revealed for that where he's got all like the stuff on him, and it's I like I said, man, he's got to have elves in there working on these things because
Yeah,
they just get
it's insane what they're doing.
crazy how many figures they pump out. And there's still a list of rumored ones to be coming out later. There's still a rumor that you got a Sinestro figure coming later, that there's going to be a Mongol figure coming later. Like these are still all
Mhm.
rumored for 2022. Um, Man, yeah, they just keep coming.
Yeah, and look, they're doing a great job with them. The figures look great. Everything they put out is really great quality. So credit to McFarlane. They're doing an amazing job right now.
Yeah, and we also got some news this week, actually last week, and I forgot to touch on it because I had it in my notes. I forgot, but Mattel kind of reversed course on some of their Mattel creation stuff.
Mhm.
And considering we dedicated a whole episode title to bashing on
Yeah,
it with the
it was
one
a
dot,
lot.
yeah, it was a lot, episode. But yeah, so they fixed the Wondar situation where they're going to do a basically open window pre-release,
Okay.
pre-order. So anyone who wants them can get them as long as you order them within that the 2 to 3 day window. They're doing the same thing for the recent release, which was the upcoming Grizzlor figure. People were upset about that because they're saying he's the main character in the Horde, and why is he an exclusive? They're doing a 1 day. You can grab him in stock, which will probably sell out in 3 minutes, if that. But then they're doing a pre-order open window, and so they kind of fix that stuff. I'm excited about that because we talked about this on the show. I love pre-order windows. In fact, we were talking a couple last week with Four Horsemen just did their All Star Wave 5. They had a
Yeah.
month-long pre-order window. I mean, the all-in price, you're basically getting a free figure or a free horse if you look at it that way, because it comes with it. So when these companies do that, Mondo did it. The windows were a little shorter, but they did it with the He-Man and the She-Ra
Yeah.
recently. That's kind of the way to go. And it also does not, people are online that are scalping and go, I need this for my business. It doesn't hurt them because there's still inevitably going to be people that miss it.
Yeah,
All that's going
absolutely.
to allow for you to grab as many as you want, in that window, whatever they limit it to. So I think it's cool. Opening these pre-order windows, scalpers will still kind of get their little thing. Collectors who really want the figure and know about it will be able to get that. So I thought that was really cool. And then there was some more exclusive leaks for uh, both Origins and Masters Universe and Masterverse, but they look to be Amazon exclusives. So if they were
Mhm.
to do whole wave exclusives through Amazon, that's going to be a little different. Normally,
Yeah.
I've had luck with getting stuff off Amazon, but I don't know how this is going to look. If you get in usually first, 20, 30 minutes, you'd be good. Then on other stuff, they've have up pre-order forever. So I think it's just a matter of seeing, but it's interesting to see where these exclusives are going with some of the distribution issues we've talked about, how these open pre-order windows are going for these exclusives. And so I think that's kind of cool. We see those changes there. Last thing, Masters of the Universe related, is I think Tweeterheads were re-releasing the Trapjaw statue, which is beautiful. But I'm going to be honest, folks, if I could afford a $650 Trapjaw statue, I wouldn't be on here talking to you. I'd be
Yeah,
flying my,
exactly.
yeah. So, no offense, I'd be, flying my jet somewhere, but thing's beautiful. If one day if I hit the lottery. But that was my kind of my Masters news. And then last thing I had was, or last two things, GI Joe, Hiya Toys is releasing what they're calling a exquisite mini Snake Eyes figure. Now it's a 3 3/4 figure. Okay, so it's
Mhm.
very much like the size of the old GI Joe figures. We were growing up in the '80s.
Yeah.
It's got 17 points of articulation, and the detail on it's ridiculous. Now it looks a
Wow.
little funky around the waist, but I'm looking at this and it kind of blows the Hasbro Retro Series Snake Eyes that they released out of the water. So, they had leaked this. I don't know. I think the price is going to be about $20 coming out at the start of Q1 of 2023. But that figure comes with a base, sword, a couple different handsets, your knife, your Uzi, and it's the standard Snake Eyes with the grid. But it's got, look, there's a lot of GI Joe stuff out there.
Yeah.
Just recently got the San Diego Comic Con comic bat, which is phenomenal, from Super Seven Ultimates. But this is kind of interesting because it looks like the old line, and unfortunately, the figures that Hasbro were releasing weren't really on the 3 3/4 making people excited. They went back to making the old O-ring figures. Some of them have been hit or miss, so it'd be interesting where it goes. Then on the Hasbro front, last thing, Transformers Legacy line is going to continue into 2023, but now it's going to be called Transformers Legacy Evolution. So they're going to keep that line going, which is basically grabbing from all different corners of the Transformers universe. So a lot of toys news this week to get out there and talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff, a ton of, little bit for everybody. Whatever you're into, there's stuff to buy. And, you got New York Comic Con around the corner. You have
Hmm.
Hasbro PulseCon or HasCon, whatever they're calling it. That's
Yep.
the end of this month. So, look, there's going to be a ton more news coming up. And obviously, stay tuned here. We'll be covering all of it.
Yes, for better or worse, we will be.
Yeah. So, look, we had a little bit of gaming news. Not a ton, not like last week where they had Gamescom, but there was a little bit. Assassin's Creed Mirage was officially announced, mainly because it got leaked a couple days earlier, so they had to get in front of it.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
they announced that I think September 10th. So this upcoming week, there's going to be like a little EA Play or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and they're going to show off the game and give a little bit more detail into it.
Now, the other thing that was rumored way back when this all started was a possible remake of Assassin's Creed 1, counting down, because I think they were starting from
Yep.
Valhalla all the way down, right? So they're
Yeah.
getting closer. So they haven't done it yet. What would that be? Fall on that same date of September 10th?
I wouldn't be surprised if it does. It's like you said, Assassin's Creed 1 remake has been rumored for it feels like over a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. Especially
Yeah.
with all these games getting remade, with Dead Space coming out, you have all the Resident Evils that are well received and doing really well.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 seem perfect for a re-release. People love
Yeah.
those games. It would make perfect sense.
Yeah, and even with Assassin's Creed 2, they didn't remaster it, or they kind of remastered. They didn't re-release it or redo it, but they put it out with the Ezio collection. So there was a way
Mhm.
you can get it. But the first one, you really can only buy that first release. Is the only way to get it, whether it's digital or what have you. I mean, they just re-released or not re-released, but the whole new game, The Last of Us Part One.
Yeah.
Totally built the game, from the ground up. It's different in a lot of different ways for the next generation console. So you're right. I mean, I think on some of these games, we talk toys and movies all the time when it comes to that nostalgia point of view. But you've got these games hitting those certain nostalgia sweet spots with folks
Yeah.
that if you do put a deluxe remake edition out on it, especially if enough time's gone by. Like that was the big debate about Last of Us Part One. Has enough time gone by? But I think with like Assassin's Creed One, where it's the game that started the brand, I think that would be huge. And they updated it for current consoles. So yeah, I'm excited to see if that actually comes to fruition. Well, I guess we'll see. And what did they give you? What did they say so much, or did they really go into any detail on Assassin's Creed Mirage? Did they give you anything of what it's supposed to be, or is it
Nothing really
open?
there. So
Okay.
you got the title, you got Assassin's Creed Mirage. They released a picture, and it's just an assassin jumping through the sky with the hidden blade that everybody loves.
Okay, cool. So it's
I
got an assassin in it, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah, there is an assassin, and I'm
Good.
assuming he's adhering to some kind of creed in this game.
Yes. Yes, and he may even see a mirage, because he may or
I
may not
think
be
I
there.
think the rumored location is somewhere in the Middle East.
Okay.
So it's going to be a new setting, that's exciting. So, and they said this one should be a little bit more stripped down, kind of like going back towards the old school Assassin's Creed games.
Okay. And that could work. It's weird when you start pulling the reins in because you've been so much open world the last couple ones. To pull it back to see how people react should be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I also this
Yeah.
week, and I don't know if you had a chance to play yet. Have you checked out this Turtles Cowabunga collection?
I haven't got a chance to play it yet.
Oh my God.
I finally beat Shredder's Revenge.
Okay.
I do want to get to the Cowabunga collection.
Listen, there are some moments on there, like the original Nintendo Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game where it's just frustration central. But dude, playing Turtles in Time, I mean,
Turtles in
I
Time is
mean,
one of the greatest games of
it
all
is one
time.
of the greatest games. Oh, it's unreal. And even some of the other ones, there's the ones they had the other Nintendo games where it was like the ports. So you had TMNT
Mhm.
two, you had and so they throw in a couple of the different games. What was it? The Manhattan Project and a couple other ones. But Turtles in Time is like the crown jewel, and it is so worth it. And I loved Shredder's Revenge, but playing Turtles in Time, it was unbelievable. Bringing back the memories of that game. Oh,
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
it's
I
such
mean,
a good collection. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out that it's 13 different games. A lot of them are just kind of tweaks on the same game, but it's worth it for Turtles in Time alone.
Yeah, and playing Shredder's Revenge made me wanna go back and play Turtles in Time, because I
Yes.
remember growing up, I had the Super Nintendo, I had Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. I remember
Hmm.
it I could never beat it, it was so hard for me as a kid, like, but that game is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good, and they did not mess it up. So anyone has a fear, oh, they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna, when they put it back out, they're gonna mess. They did not. They did not. They nailed it. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, and look, now we're gonna switch over to comics and books. Not a lot going
Books.
on here, but we did get a new Star Wars book announced, which I know is always exciting for us. It's Star Wars: The Princess and the Scoundrel, which
Hmm.
basically follows Han and Leia. You're gonna get to read about their wedding, what it was like, kind of all this in between stuff that happens before Force Awakens.
You're gonna get to see Leia's wedding dress.
Yeah,
I already
maybe.
saw the concept art. Yeah, I saw the
Oh yeah.
concept art. It's out there. Oh yeah. How interested are you in reading this?
I don't know if I'll read the full book. Maybe I'll kind of just check like the notes after, once it leaks online, just what happened. I'm more excited for the Fallen Order book that they had announced a couple weeks ago that we talked
Hmm.
about,
Yeah,
as opposed to
absolutely.
this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's the one I'm looking forward to. I still never finished. I'm in the middle, and it's not because it was is bad or anything. I just got distracted. But Shadows of the Sith, I still have to. I'm almost done with that. I'll finish that. I'll come back and talk a little bit about that. But I will say this: from there were two books. If you read, reading Shadows of the Sith and reading the Rise of Skywalker novel adaptation, you get a better appreciation for the movie. You also realize
Mhm.
that how incredibly flawed it was. You already thought it's even more, but filling in the gaps at least makes it make sense. You appreciate a little bit more, and you just wish that they had more time with that movie to kind of flesh it out a little bit, and so it's not all over the place and just so disjointed and hobbled together. So that is one thing I think is cool, and that's why I'm looking forward so much for the tie-in that we were just speaking about, because I want those gaps filled in between game number one and game number two. Because Jedi
Yeah.
Survivor, that's the I mean, I can't wait. That I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. You think we get anything for that game at D23?
I hope so. I hope so.
Because there is a gaming panel. I believe it's Friday.
Okay.
I want to say maybe like 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that.
Okay.
And it's dedicated completely to gaming. I don't know if it's specifically just Marvel, but I'd like to see a little bit of Star Wars thrown in there too.
Yeah, I'd like to any update we get on that game, because the trailer I thought was fantastic, but I still don't know what's going on.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah.
There's so much confusion in that trailer.
Yeah.
Who's the person in the tank? It's.
Yeah. So there's more to still um you know, to kind of dive into the person in the tank, who's the person on the end, how much time has gone by, where's the rest of the crew. So yeah, um, I'm looking forward to that one big time.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see. Anything in the world of comics that you're reading or you want to talk about?
No, I'm taking a break. I have now done so. One of the things I'm trying to do is I am dabbling with trying to get into start playing D&D because I've never played. And
Okay.
so I'm trying to familiarize myself with the world. So I've got really into the novel series that's been around forever, but
Hmm.
basically the Legend of Drizzt, which is about and a dark elf. Well, he's not a dark. He grew up with a whatever. I'll get there. Um, but I'm starting to read that. So I have put my comic reading because I was behind anyway. I put everything on hold. I told you Dark Crisis frustrated me. Death of
Yeah.
Just I'm like the whole thing, like DC just and I because I was kind of up to date with the DC and current continuity as of like 5 months ago, 6 months,
Okay.
and I lost my mind. I couldn't anymore. I just started getting frustrated. So I took a break. I continued with the Superman, but that storyline's wrapping up soon with Action Comics. And I'm gonna go back once Batman puts out a couple with Chip Zdarsky. I'll go back and read that.
Hmm.
But I'm taking a comic break. I'm diving into, like I said, these Dungeon and Dragon books and some stuff, reading some fantasy books and trying to catch up on those Star Wars books. So, I'd like to go in and see a lot of these. I'm looking forward to that, the Jedi Survivor tie-in. I've got to get caught up with the High Republic because I know Phase 2 or 3, I think 3 starting soon. So Phase 2
Yeah.
is real short. Um, And so I'm in the middle of phase 2 on that, so I'm trying to get caught up. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm taking a break from comics right now until I get dive back in. It was a really good crest of good stuff, and now I'm kind of burned out by a lot of it.
Hmm. I feel like that happens with anybody who reads comics, right? You kind of go through these ups and downs, these waves, where you're in, you're reading every single piece, and then you kind of just fall off. And it happened to me. I'm still kind of just on the back end of just not reading comics right now, so because
Yeah.
it's too much.
Yeah, and it's trying to catch it when they do these reboots, and the problem is it's funny because Marvel's much better keeping continuity, but much harder to jump in because they keep continuity.
Yeah,
DC's got so many restarts, which is frustrating as a fan, but it's easier to jump in at a place, and then they just reboot it anyway. But that's why I was able to kind of, I really jumped in Rebirth in 2016, and I was pretty current up until I'd say the end of last year, the beginning of this year, and then I've just kind of just fallen off. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break for a while. I'll dive back in when I can.
yeah. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah,
I started with Rebirth, and I want to say I maybe got through like Dark Knight's Metal, but that's about it.
yeah, and that got all convoluted too with all those tie-ins and stuff. And yeah, the last thing I mean, I did that. I did Endless Winter. Did the Future State. And it just got to the point where I was like, I don't know what's Infinite Frontier, and I just I'm telling you what, Death of the Justice League just put me over the edge. I was like, I got to take a break. I got to take a break. So I did. I did.
Now, look, before we get out of here, we've run through all our
Yes.
main topics, all our big news. We kind of wanted to play around a little bit, have some fun at the end, right? End on a hopefully positive note. With the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie coming out, we wanted to throw in a little public domain characters that we think should be rebooted or kind of give an idea. So I'm going to defer to you and let you start on this one.
All right. So here's the deal. We talked a little bit about this last week too, with the King Kong. What is it? The show that's coming
Yeah,
to
the Disney Plus one.
the Disney Plus. All right, and I guess they're basing that off of the public domain character of King Kong. So that kind of got me thinking. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we started talking about blood and honey and stuff. So trying to go through now and find. So what I was able to do is look here and see. Now, the biggest character out there that is rumored, and there's a lot of people don't know what's going to happen to it or what's going to go, is Mickey Mouse. All right.
Yeah.
So Disney owns, a lot of most of the stuff's trademarked and stuff, but the original character Mickey Mouse. So there's a lot of back and forth of what's going to happen with that. It's going to be very interesting. But looking at some of the characters there, I'm looking at this stuff, and it's got to be a straight crossover. All right, because I'm looking at different out there now. The easiest one I always go to is Dracula, because if you could do
Yeah.
anything vampire based, and it's been in the public domain forever. Um, Now, do you? And let me just pull this up so I can make sure because I don't want to misspeak. Do you think taking that existing character and then just replacing it with different ones? I'd like to do a mashup between Dracula and I'd probably have to go. Hold on, let me check the characters. Um, no, I'm not going to go Dracula. I know what I want to do. I want to do a mashup between The Great Gatsby and King Kong, and here's why.
I love it.
I I want a bunch of rich, famous people trying to work out their feelings and how society's gotten away and come back. And then I wanted to kind of really be the first 45 minutes to an hour, a structure of the Great Gatsby, right? And he's coming
Mhm.
back and he's realizing he can't have his life. He's been replaced and then just the freaking King Kong attacks and just ravages the party. And then they start like realizing like, hey, like, here we are thinking we're so above this and life so much and all these things, and now they have to like face with like their infinite, their immortality right in front of them because the monkeys, the apes knocking down the building and they're trying to buy their way out of trouble, and it doesn't swatting down their private jets, and then they're limited. That's what I want to see. And then I just want Gatsby to realize I shouldn't have been such a sucker and worried about this. And then he's got to try to figure out, how do you stop, Kong? So you can use Kong as a metaphor for,
Yeah.
basically his life not turning out the way it wants to be and not being able to turn back time and fix everything. But now just Kong's there, nature's there, and you can't stop it. So instead of him just realizing and they all go about their way, no, the King Kong just wreaks havoc on their big major party. And I could just see that lavish party being just trashed by Kong. So that's where I wanted to go. Because I was thinking like Mickey Mouse and Dracula, but that's been done before. But I want a Kong Gatsby thing and just use Kong as the metaphor of just nature and not being able to turn back time.
Yeah, that would actually be an awesome movie. That
Yeah,
would
yeah,
it sounds way better than Blood and Honey. It sounds like there's actually potential there.
yeah. I think so. And you just play it straight and just use that as the whole thing. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that stands out. Anything that grabbed your eye that you thought would make a good
Now,
either story or movie like Blood and Honey. I'm not saying
look,
that's going to be good.
the one that stands out to me, and I think I've talked about this maybe once or twice on here before. Alice in Wonderland is just ripe for a horror kind of spin on it, right?
Yep.
Because if you really sit down and look at that movie, there is real weird, semi-disturbing stuff that happens in that movie. um,
Hmm.
and look, it kind of goes back to there's a video game that exists where they kind of take the story of Alice in Wonderland and they put a horror element on it where Alice is a patient at an insane asylum. People think she's kind of going crazy. Is she making this up?
Hmm.
Wonderland is in her head and everything's kind of twisted and evil. It would make such a good movie, even like an HBO miniseries if they could do that, like 6 to 8 episodes. I think it would work fantastically.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And you could pull, because I'm looking at this list here. I mean, listen to some of these characters in the public domain you could pull in and just throw into that mix that would fit perfectly in that world. When we talk about, you got Dracula, Frankenstein, whatever, but you got other things, other characters we're looking at here. Um, Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, those characters would be if you did a
Yep,
mashup of Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. Saying that Bugs Bunny's in the public domain, I refuse to believe that. That
that's
would be
interesting.
crazy. Yeah, that would be crazy. Putting Bugs Bunny in Wonderland, he'd fit right in. Um, but yeah, it's interesting, man. You look at some of these classics that are out there. Saying Buck Rogers is out there. I don't know. You know what you know what another one I would do, and I'm looking at it now because I'm looking at public domain. Captain Nemo is in the public domain. Now, why
Yeah,
no one has remade 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or just taken that character? I mean, come on. Come on.
yeah.
Uh,
Another one that kind of stood out to me was Zorro. You really haven't heard much on the front of Zorro in years at this point. There's really been nothing with that character.
yeah,
I
I'm
think he's another
looking.
one that could, get an IP going and get into a franchise.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking at it now. There's a bunch of comic characters that just kind of disevolved. That like some of them have the same name. Like look like I'm looking here. There's a dude called this can't be right. Green Mask. Dude wears a green mask. Johnny Green. All right, that's it.
It's very on the nose.
Yeah. Oh, Johnny Green, man, and he's got a pistol. So, yeah, man, like you could come in and just do whatever you want with that character. But yeah, I think mashup's the way to go. You could always do a horror mashup, bring all the characters into it, like they've done so many times. But yeah, I'm going with Gatsby and Kong. I want to cross over. It's in the same time period around, so be perfect.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like I said, the one I'd have to go with is the Alice in Wonderland, taking in that kind of horror, kind of psychic thriller in a way. I think that's where that one would thrive.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm thinking is if Bugs Bunny is the public domain, if Mickey Mouse made it, and Sherlock Holmes in the public domain, you could do like, like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel and just have Holmes try to solve the case.
That would be
So,
awesome.
yeah, just bring those characters in. But I don't know, man. Anything's got to be better than Blood and Honey. So that's all I
But
got.
here's the thing. It's like I said, if Blood and Honey makes money like I think it's going to, I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of this stuff pop up.
Yeah. Well, I'll start working on that Gatsby Kong script right now.
Live read coming in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been another show of various stages of growth.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah, look, big week coming up, D23, Cobra Kai season 5, all stuff to look forward to. So we'll be talking about all of that. Until
Yeah.
then, I'm Matt.
And I am Will.
Thanks for stopping by.
See you later.